We often say we want to understand others, but most people do not listen. They hear words, not truth. Stoicism teaches us this. Do not rush to judge. Observe. Ask. Reflect. You do not need tricks to read someone's mind. You need calm eyes, steady thinking, and the right questions. Here are 5 questions that reveal a person's true nature. How a person reacts when things go wrong shows the true state of their mind. Anyone can appear calm when life is easy. Anyone can sound wise when there is no pressure. But difficulty removes the mask. When plans fail, when loss appears, when something does not go their way, their inner habits rise to the surface without effort. Some react with anger. Their voice changes. Their body tightens. They look for someone to blame. This reaction does not come from the event itself. It comes from the belief that life should obey their wishes. When reality refuses, frustration takes control. Stoicism teaches that events are neutral. It is our judgment that creates suffering. A person who reacts with rage is showing that their peace depends on external things. Others react with fear. They panic. They imagine the worst. They speak quickly and act without thinking. This shows a mind that lives in the future, not in the present. Fear grows when a person believes they cannot handle what comes. A Stoic understands that the moment can be faced one step at a time. Fear reveals a lack of trust in one's own reason. Some react with complaint. They repeat the same story of injustice again and again. They want sympathy more than solutions. Complaining feels like relief, but it trains the mind to focus on weakness. Stoicism reminds us that speaking constantly about pain makes pain stronger. A person who complains at every difficulty is revealing that they believe life owes them comfort. There are those who react by avoiding responsibility. They deny the problem or pretend it does not exist. They distract themselves with noise, pleasure, or excuses. This reaction shows a refusal to face reality. A Stoic does not escape difficulty. They stand still and look directly at what is happening. Avoidance delays growth and multiplies future suffering. Some react with calm attention. They pause before speaking. They ask what can be controlled and what cannot. They do not waste energy on anger or blame. This calm is not weakness. It is strength. It shows training of the mind. Stoicism teaches that self-mastery is the highest form of power. A calm response means the person governs themselves instead of being ruled by events. Others respond with acceptance. Acceptance does not mean liking what happened. It means understanding that resistance to reality adds unnecessary pain. A person who accepts quickly is not giving up. They are conserving energy for wise action. Acceptance reveals maturity. It shows that the person understands the nature of life and change. Watch how long a reaction lasts. Anyone can lose control for a moment, but a person's character is shown by how quickly they return to balance. Long anger means deep attachment. Long fear means lack of inner stability. Stoicism values recovery more than perfection. The speed of recovery reveals the strength of discipline. Also notice whether the reaction leads to improvement or decay. Some difficulties make people better. Others make them bitter. Stoicism teaches that obstacles are training tools. A person who uses hardship to grow shows wisdom. A person who uses hardship to justify bad behavior shows weakness. Do not judge by words spoken during comfort. Observe behavior during struggle. Reaction is honest because it is often unconscious. People can prepare speeches. They cannot easily prepare instincts. The mind under pressure tells the truth about what it has been feeding itself every day. When you watch reactions, do not interfere. Do not correct. Do not advise. Simply observe. A Stoic learns by watching nature, not by forcing it. Over time, patterns appear. One moment may lie. Repeated reactions do not. This is why difficulties are valuable. They expose reality. They reveal beliefs, habits, and limits. A person who remains steady during trouble has trained their mind. A person who collapses has work to do. Neither is to be mocked. But both are to be seen clearly. By understanding reactions, you understand priorities. You see what a person protects, what they fear losing, and what controls them. Reaction is the mirror of the soul under pressure. What a person does when no one is watching reveals more than what they do in front of others. Public behavior is often rehearsed. Private behavior is natural. When there is no reward, no punishment, and no audience, the mind acts according to its true values. Stoicism teaches that virtue does not depend on being seen. It depends on being consistent. Many people behave well only when eyes are on them. They are polite when praised, disciplined when observed, honest when consequences are near. But remove attention, and their actions change. This shows that their behavior is driven by fear and desire, not by principle. A Stoic does not act well to be noticed. They act well because it aligns with reason. Notice how a person treats small responsibilities when no one checks on them. Do they cut corners or complete the task fully? Small actions in private build habits. Habits shape character. Stoicism reminds us that excellence is built quietly. What is ignored today becomes weakness tomorrow. Observe how someone spends their time alone. Time without supervision reveals priorities. Some choose learning, reflection, or rest that strengthens the mind. Others escape into endless distraction. There is nothing wrong with rest, but constant escape shows discomfort with one's own thoughts. A Stoic is not afraid of silence. Silence is where self-knowledge grows. Look at how a person handles honesty when lying would be easy. In private moments, truth has no protection except conscience. A person who remains truthful without witnesses is guided by inner law, not external pressure. Stoicism places conscience above opinion. The wise person answers to reason, not to crowds. Pay attention to how someone treats those who cannot benefit them. A stranger, a worker, someone with no influence. When no advantage is gained, behavior becomes honest. Kindness in private shows a stable character. Cruelty in private shows a belief that power justifies behavior. Stoicism rejects this belief. Power reveals responsibility, not permission. Notice whether a person maintains discipline without enforcement. Do they keep their promises to themselves? Do they follow routines when motivation fades? Self-discipline without supervision shows mastery over impulses. Stoicism teaches that freedom comes from self-control, not indulgence. Private reactions to success are also revealing. When alone after winning, does pride grow or gratitude? Does humility remain? Success without witnesses tests ego. Stoicism warns that pride is a quiet enemy. A person who stays grounded in private is less likely to be corrupted in public. Also observe how someone responds to failure when no one knows. Do they reflect or do they deny? Do they learn or do they hide from the truth? A Stoic uses failure as instruction, not as a reason for shame. Reflection in solitude is a sign of inner strength. The absence of an audience removes pressure to perform. What remains is habit. Habit is truth repeated daily. Stoicism emphasizes daily practice, not occasional display. The mind is trained in moments that seem unimportant. Private behavior also shows whether someone respects themselves. Neglect, self-deception, and excess often appear in isolation. Care, honesty, and balance appear when self-respect is present. A Stoic treats the self as something worth governing wisely. Do not rush to conclusions based on single moments. Observe patterns over time. Consistency in private is rare and valuable. It shows alignment between thought and action. This alignment creates inner peace. When you understand what someone does unseen, you understand their real compass. External rules can guide behavior temporarily. Internal principles guide behavior always. The Stoic life is lived the same in light and in shadow. How a person speaks about others reveals what they truly value and how their mind works. Words are not empty. They are reflections of thought. When someone talks about friends, enemies, or strangers, they expose their judgment, their fears, and their desires. Stoicism teaches that words should reflect reason and virtue, not impulse and emotion. Listening carefully to speech gives insight into character without confrontation or accusation. Some people speak with malice. They criticize, insult, or gossip. Even small remarks carry weight. This behavior does not come from events or facts alone. It comes from attachment to self-image, resentment, and untrained emotions. A person who speaks harshly about others seeks power or satisfaction in tearing someone down. Their mind is restless and ungoverned. Stoicism shows that cruelty and anger are chains, not freedom. Others speak with envy. They downplay achievements, compare relentlessly, or express resentment toward others' success. This reveals a mind focused on scarcity and ego rather than improvement. A person who envies sees life as a competition and measures their value against others. Stoicism teaches that inner wealth, virtue, discipline, and reason is not diminished by another's success. A person who constantly compares exposes dependency on external validation. Some speak carelessly, without attention to truth. They exaggerate, distort, or ignore facts. This behavior shows a mind that values convenience over honesty, perception over reality. Stoicism emphasizes that reason should guide speech. A careless speaker often shows inner laziness or unwillingness to confront the truth. Words reveal what someone tolerates within themselves. Others speak with flattery or false praise. They adjust words to gain favor, avoid conflict, or manipulate perception. This behavior reflects fear and desire. Stoicism warns against allowing external opinion to dictate action or speech. A person who flatters excessively seeks safety in others' approval rather than relying on reason. Their speech reveals dependence, not character. Some speak with care and respect, even about those they dislike. They recognize the humanity and flaws in everyone without exaggeration or cruelty. This shows mastery over emotion and judgment. Stoicism values reasoned speech, words guided by clarity, fairness, and purpose. Respectful speech reveals inner control and a mind trained to act from principle rather than impulse. Notice also how someone reacts to hearing others speak poorly about someone else. Do they join in, remain silent, or defend fairness? Their response shows whether their judgments are automatic or deliberate. A Stoic mind does not mimic negativity. It evaluates, remains calm, and speaks when reason calls. A person who participates in gossip or judgment without thought shows how easily they are swayed by habit rather than principle. Pay attention to consistency in speech. Some people are kind to some and cruel to others, based on advantage or fear. This inconsistency shows that their words are motivated by circumstance, not virtue. Stoicism teaches that a virtuous mind acts consistently, regardless of audience or situation. The measure of character is not occasional fairness, but steady reason in all communication. Also, observe the tone and emotion in speech. Words can be polite but laced with resentment, jealousy, or impatience. Or they can be calm, clear, and intentional. Emotion uncontrolled in speech reflects inner turmoil. Emotion guided by reason shows training of the mind. The voice, rhythm, and focus of speech all give clues to the inner state. Finally, consider what a person chooses not to say. Silence can reveal wisdom or avoidance. Choosing words carefully demonstrates thoughtfulness, while unnecessary criticism or chatter shows a restless mind. Stoicism teaches that restraint in speech is as important as action. What someone says about others mirrors what they tolerate within themselves and reveals the balance between reason and impulse that governs their life. What a person values most guides every decision they make, reveals the priorities of their soul. Words can mislead, promises can be broken, but actions rarely lie. By observing what someone chases, protects, and sacrifices for, the truth about their heart becomes clear. Stoicism teaches that the mind should distinguish between what is under control and what is not, and that true value lies in what can be governed by reason, not in fleeting external rewards. Some people value comfort above all else. They seek ease, avoid effort, and measure life by convenience. Their choices are dictated by desire for pleasure or avoidance of pain. This reveals a mind that equates happiness with external circumstances. Stoicism teaches that comfort is not a measure of good, nor discomfort a measure of evil. A person driven by comfort is vulnerable to misfortune because their peace depends on things they cannot control. Others value wealth or possessions. They measure success by accumulation and display. Their time, energy, and relationships are instruments to gain more. Possessions may seem important, but Stoicism reminds us that material things are indifferent. They are neither good nor bad in themselves. A person obsessed with wealth often reveals insecurity, comparing themselves to others and tethering their happiness to external outcomes rather than inner virtue. Some people value power or influence. They act to control, command, or impress. Their choices focus on status, recognition, or dominance. Stoicism teaches that true strength comes from governing oneself, not others. A person who values power above reason may achieve outward success, but remains enslaved to fear, pride, and desire. Their decisions reveal the depth of their attachment to perception rather than principle. Others value approval and admiration. They adjust their behavior to be liked, praised, or respected. Their priorities revolve around perception rather than reality. This reliance on external opinion demonstrates a mind still entangled in dependency. Stoicism emphasizes that approval is external and unstable. Those who seek it as the highest good will find their peace fleeting and fragile, constantly shifting with the judgments of others. Some people value freedom of thought and independence. They pursue knowledge, reflection, and self-governance. Their actions reveal a desire to live in accordance with reason rather than impulse. Stoicism teaches that freedom comes from mastering oneself, not controlling others or circumstances. Valuing independence demonstrates awareness that virtue is the true guide, not desire or fear. Pay attention to how someone reacts when their values are challenged. Do they cling stubbornly, compromise easily, or reflect calmly? The response shows the depth and authenticity of their priorities. A person who abandons principle under pressure may have valued convenience or approval more than they admitted. A person who stands firm demonstrates alignment between thought and action, revealing a mind trained in clarity and discipline. Observe what they sacrifice to achieve their goals. Sacrifice shows what truly matters. Some sacrifice time, integrity, or relationships for wealth, pleasure, or recognition. Others sacrifice comfort and convenience for growth, learning, or service. Stoicism teaches that sacrifice is noble when guided by reason, but harmful when driven by attachment or desire. What a person is willing to give up reveals what their soul prizes most. Notice also what occupies their attention daily. Time is the truest measure of value. Someone who spends hours on trivial or fleeting pleasures may value distraction and avoidance. Someone who dedicates time to learning, reflection, or helping others reveals that they value growth, wisdom, and connection. Stoicism teaches that attention is a precious resource. How it is spent demonstrates what a person holds sacred. Finally, observe how long their commitments last. Temporary passions may appear important, but lasting devotion shows genuine value. Consistent effort over time, even when inconvenient or difficult, signals that a principle has been internalized. A Stoic mind aligns action with reason consistently, not only when it is easy or popular. Through observation of what a person values, one can understand not only their actions, but the priorities that shape their life, the truths they live by, and the guidance of their inner compass. How a person handles the truth about themselves is one of the clearest windows into their character. Many people speak about honesty as if it is a virtue easily claimed, yet few can face their own reality without distortion or avoidance. Stoicism teaches that self-knowledge is essential for wisdom and inner peace. Facing the truth requires courage, patience, and humility, because the mind naturally resists acknowledging its own faults, mistakes, and limitations. Some people deny the truth about themselves entirely. They refuse to admit errors, justify poor decisions, and place blame on others or circumstances. This reaction comes from fear of discomfort and attachment to self-image. Stoicism teaches that denying reality is a form of suffering. When someone cannot admit their own mistakes, it shows a mind that values appearance over substance, comfort over growth, and ego over reason. Others acknowledge some truths but selectively. They admit minor mistakes while hiding larger flaws. They reflect only superficially, avoiding deeper understanding. This selective honesty is a defense mechanism. It allows the person to feel virtuous without truly changing. A Stoic sees that partial acknowledgement is insufficient. The mind must confront the whole picture of itself, not just the parts that are easy to bear. Some react with defensiveness. When confronted with truth, they become angry or defensive, twisting facts to protect pride. This reaction reveals that self-image is stronger than reason. Stoicism teaches that ego is the enemy of clarity. A person who cannot face criticism calmly demonstrates that their inner stability depends on perception rather than understanding. Defense reveals vulnerability, and the inability to accept truth prevents progress. Others respond with avoidance. They distract themselves, rationalize, or escape into business rather than looking at what they have done wrong. Avoidance shows discomfort with reality and a lack of discipline in the mind. A Stoic does not fear self-examination. They sit with the facts, observe them clearly, and decide what is within their control. The person who avoids truth may live comfortably for a while, but the consequences accumulate. There are those who embrace the truth with difficulty but steadily. They may feel discomfort, shame, or regret, yet they reflect and learn from it. This reaction shows strength of character. Stoicism emphasizes that truth is not always easy to accept. but acceptance is necessary for growth. Facing one's own faults allows the mind to act with clarity in the future, rather than repeating the same errors. Observe whether a person reflects consistently or only when prompted. Self-examination cannot be forced by external pressure alone. A person who regularly looks inward demonstrates discipline and courage. Stoicism teaches that the mind must be trained daily. Those who avoid introspection reveal that they rely on convenience and distraction to maintain a false sense of self. Notice also how they respond to the consequences of their mistakes. Do they take responsibility, correct errors, and act wisely, or do they continue to deny and justify? Action following truth shows that understanding has been internalized. Words alone cannot indicate growth. A Stoic's measure is in deliberate, reasoned action. Pay attention to emotional reactions. Some feel shame and despair. Others feel guilt and anxiety. Both are natural, but Stoicism emphasizes that emotion should guide reflection, not overwhelm it. A person who becomes paralyzed by truth has not yet mastered reason. A person who feels, understands, and then acts demonstrates a mind aligned with virtue. Finally, notice whether they learn from the truth. Recognition without change is incomplete. Stoicism teaches that the purpose of understanding oneself is improvement. A person who consistently repeats the same mistakes reveals that they have seen but not accepted. Acceptance of truth is the first step. Transformation is the next. How someone handles their own reality shows their strength, discipline, and readiness to live a life guided by reason rather than impulse. Fear, or desire a person's control over their emotions is one of the clearest indicators of their inner strength and clarity of mind. Emotions are natural, but ungoverned emotions are a form of weakness because they allow external events to dictate inner peace. Stoicism teaches that the mind should be trained to observe and respond, not to react blindly. By watching how someone manages anger, fear, desire, or joy, one can see the state of their character and the discipline they have cultivated. Some people are ruled entirely by emotion. A small inconvenience can trigger frustration, anger, or resentment. Praise can inflate pride, and criticism can crush confidence. This reaction demonstrates a lack of internal grounding. Stoicism emphasizes that external events are neutral. It is the judgment we attach to them that creates suffering. When a person's peace depends on external approval or circumstance, their mind is vulnerable to every change in fortune. Others suppress emotion entirely. They avoid feeling discomfort, fear, or sadness, pretending these states do not exist. This reaction may appear strong, but it is not mastery. Stoicism teaches that emotions should not be eliminated but understood and guided by reason. Suppression without understanding often leads to internal tension, sudden eruptions, or the misplacement of feelings onto others. Avoidance of emotion is a sign of fear rather than control. Some respond inconsistently. They are calm in some situations and reactive in others, depending on mood or circumstance. This reveals a mind not fully trained. Stoicism values consistency, not occasional success. A person who manages their emotions only when convenient has not yet internalized the principle that the mind itself must remain steady, regardless of external events. Others respond with reflection. They feel emotion but pause before acting. Anger becomes awareness of an injustice rather than a reaction. Fear becomes analysis of risk rather than panic. Desire becomes motivation directed toward reasoned goals rather than impulsive indulgence. Stoicism teaches that reflection allows the mind to guide emotion rather than be guided by it. A person capable of reflection shows training of thought, patience, and discipline. Notice how a person responds to prolonged stress or repeated challenges. Some maintain composure for a short time, but break down under sustained pressure. Others show patience, resilience, and steady reasoning. Stoicism emphasizes endurance as much as immediate control. Mastery of emotion is not proven in calm moments but in difficulty. A person who can remain centered over time demonstrates a mind aligned with reason, capable of maintaining peace despite chaos. Observe how they handle sudden or unexpected events. A sudden insult, surprise loss, or unforeseen challenge often exposes true character. Those who panic or lash out reveal attachment to control or outcome. Those who pause, assess, and act from understanding show inner strength. Stoicism teaches that preparation is important, but only the discipline of the mind can handle what cannot be predicted. Also notice how they express joy or pleasure. Do they cling to it or enjoy it without attachment? Emotions are not inherently harmful, but when desire controls action, the mind becomes enslaved. Stoicism values enjoyment guided by reason, appreciating good without dependence. A person who can experience pleasure without losing balance demonstrates mastery over both extremes of emotion, attachment, and aversion. Pay attention to subtle reactions, not only obvious ones. Irritation, impatience, subtle envy, or silent frustration reveal the state of the mind just as clearly as open anger. Stoicism teaches that awareness of small emotions is as important as control of large ones. A person who notices and adjusts small feelings shows refined self-discipline. Finally, notice whether emotion drives behavior or informs it. Action born from untrained feeling often leads to regret, conflict, or wasted energy. Action informed by understanding reflects deliberate choice. Stoicism teaches that the mind must guide action, not be guided by fleeting passion. A person who consistently allows reason to shape their responses demonstrates a mind that is calm, resilient, and prepared to meet life with clarity and balance. A person's response to power or success reveals much about their character and the state of their mind. Many speak of ambition or leadership, yet few show the wisdom to handle influence without corruption. Stoicism teaches that external circumstances, including power, are indifferent. What matters is how the mind governs itself in the presence of advantage or recognition. Observing behavior in these moments exposes whether someone acts from virtue or from desire, pride, or fear. Some people become arrogant when given power. They seek to dominate, control, or elevate themselves above others. Authority inflates the ego and magnifies attachment to status. This reaction shows that their self-worth is tied to external recognition, not to internal discipline. Stoicism teaches that true strength comes from self-mastery, not from the ability to impose will on others. A person who lets power inflate pride is revealing a mind that is still ruled by desire and attachment. Others become careless or indulgent. Success brings comfort, opportunity, and influence, and some respond with excess, neglecting responsibility. They overindulge in pleasure, neglect important duties, or lose sight of principles. This reaction shows that their priorities lie in fleeting rewards rather than enduring virtue. Stoicism emphasizes that external gain should be treated with moderation and reason, never allowing it to dictate character. Some react with fear or insecurity. They worry about losing status or influence, becoming anxious about perception or criticism. Power that should be neutral becomes a source of stress. This reveals attachment to control and dependence on opinion. Stoicism teaches that the wise mind remains unshaken by external conditions, understanding what is within its control and what is not. Fear in response to success shows that the mind is still enslaved to outcome and perception. Others respond with humility and responsibility. They understand that power or success is a tool, not a measure of worth. They use influence to act wisely, fairly, and for purposes aligned with principle. Stoicism teaches that virtue is the only true measure of good, and external success is only valuable to the extent that it allows reasoned action. A person who treats success as a responsibility rather than a reward demonstrates maturity and inner strength. Observe how someone handles criticism or opposition while in a position of power. Some react with defensiveness, anger, or retaliation. Others reflect, adjust, or act with fairness. This reveals whether their actions are governed by pride or reason. Stoicism emphasizes that criticism and challenge are opportunities to test character. A person who reacts thoughtfully shows stability, while a reactive response reveals dependency on ego. Notice also how they handle the privileges that come with success. Some exploit them for personal gain or gratification, disregarding fairness or ethics. Others recognize that privilege brings duty, using it to support growth, justice, or the well-being of others. Stoicism teaches that privilege is neutral. It is the use of it that reflects character. The ethical use of advantage shows a mind guided by principle rather than desire. Pay attention to whether behavior under power is consistent or situational. Some are humble in private but arrogant in public, generous with friends but selfish with strangers. Stoicism values consistency, showing that the mind is governed by reason rather than circumstance. Inconsistency indicates that virtue has not been internalized. Also, notice their reaction to challenges that accompany power. Responsibility often brings difficulty, criticism, and obstacles. Some crumble under pressure, revealing attachment to comfort or control. Others remain steady, deliberate, and fair. Stoicism teaches that difficulty is inevitable, and true character is shown by endurance and reasoned action, not by avoidance or indulgence. Finally, observe how a person balances ambition with restraint. Desire for achievement is natural, but obsession leads to imbalance and vulnerability. Stoicism emphasizes self-governance and moderation. A person who pursues goals with clarity, discipline, and ethical intention demonstrates mastery over both success and self, showing that their mind is not swayed by fortune, but guided by principle. A person's consistency over time reveals their true character more clearly than words, promises, or fleeting actions. Many present themselves as reliable, virtuous, or disciplined in brief moments, but life is composed of patterns and repeated choices. Stoicism teaches that virtue and wisdom are developed through steady practice, not occasional brilliance. Observing whether someone maintains their principles and actions across circumstances, moods, and situations shows whether their values are genuine or merely superficial. Some people show virtue inconsistently. They act well when convenient, when being observed, or when rewards are present. Their kindness, discipline, or honesty appears only under favorable conditions. This reveals that their character is dependent on circumstance rather than principle. Stoicism emphasizes that virtue is not conditional, it is exercised regardless of praise, comfort, or recognition. A person who behaves inconsistently has not yet trained the mind to align actions with reason. Others are consistent in some areas but not others. They may be honest in business but deceitful in personal matters, generous with friends but stingy with strangers, calm under small stress but reactive under pressure. Partial consistency shows partial mastery, but it also reveals where attachments and weaknesses remain. Stoicism teaches that balance and uniformity in behavior are the hallmarks of a disciplined mind. A mind guided by principle acts according to reason across all areas, not selectively. Some people appear consistent outwardly, but change when their circumstances shift. Their habits, speech, or attitude may vary with audience, fortune, or emotion. Superficial stability is fragile because it relies on control of external factors. Stoicism warns that external appearances are unreliable. Inner stability is tested by adversity and solitude. True consistency is not performance for observers, but steadiness born of self-governance. Others demonstrate quiet, steadfast consistency. They follow routines, uphold commitments, and maintain virtue, even when unnoticed, unpraised, or challenged. Their behavior aligns with values, not with external incentives. This consistency reveals an internal compass guided by reason. Stoicism teaches that the wise mind seeks alignment with principle above comfort or approval. Such a person is reliable, because their actions stem from discipline, not from circumstance. Observe how someone reacts to repeated challenges. Some succeed briefly, but falter under prolonged difficulty, revealing dependence on luck or ease. Others endure, remain disciplined, and act with steady judgment. Stoicism emphasizes that life is a test of endurance as well as insight. Long-term consistency demonstrates mastery over impulse, patience in difficulty, and clarity in judgment. Notice whether consistency is voluntary or forced. Some act according to rules or expectations rather than inner conviction. Their steadiness is maintained only while external pressures are present. True Stoic, like consistency, comes from self-chosen practice, guided by reason and reflection, rather than by obligation or fear of consequence. Pay attention to emotional consistency as well as action. Some people may act rightly but remain emotionally volatile, reactive, or anxious. Others show calm and measured emotion across time, indicating mastery not only of behavior but of the mind itself. Stoicism teaches that inner balance and rationale must accompany outward actions to form genuine strength of character. Also, examine how priorities remain stable over time. A person who shifts values frequently, chasing pleasure, approval, or status, demonstrates inconsistency of judgment. One who holds steadfast to principles, even as circumstances change, shows that their mind is governed by reason rather than impulse. Consistency in values is the foundation for consistency in action. Finally, notice patterns across relationships, work habits, and speech. Fragmented behavior in one area often reflects inner imbalance. Stoicism emphasizes that harmony within the mind produces harmony in life. Consistent people maintain integrity in thought, speech, and action across all domains, revealing that their life is shaped by principle, not by whim, appearance, or temporary desire.